I survived the war, only to have my own son leave me to starve in the cold. He thought he could steal my house and declare me insane. But he forgot one thing: a Marine never surrenders. You won't believe how I made him pay. The fluorescent lights of the VA waiting room hummed with a sound that drilled right into my skull. It was a headache I'd had since 1968, the kind that aspirin didn't touch. I looked down at the ticket in my hand. A49. They were on A12. I had been sitting in this plastic chair for 4 hours. My lower back throbbed, a dull grinding ache from 40 years of bending over engines as a mechanic, but I sat up straight. A Marine doesn't slouch, even when he's 79 and his heart feels like a fluttering bird in a cage. Number A49, the voice called out. It wasn't a person. It was a machine voice from the ceiling. I pushed myself up, grabbing my cane. My knuckles were white, the skin thin as parchment paper. I walked to the window. The young man behind the glass didn't look up. He was typing on his phone, smiling at something on the screen. "Excuse me, sir," I said. My voice was raspy. I hadn't spoken to anyone in 2 days, not since I told the mailman good morning. "I'm here for my refill. Digoxin. And the insulin." The young man finally looked up. His eyes glazed with boredom. He tapped his computer keyboard once, dismissively. "Name: Raymond Carter. Last 4 are 6789. He stared at the screen, chewing his gum with an open mouth. Smack. 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 "Says here your coverage is suspended, Mr. Carter. Pending income verification." My chest tightened. Suspended? I sent those papers in 3 months ago. I hand-delivered them. I can't go without the heart pills. The doctor said if I skip a week, I might not wake up. "System says suspended," he repeated, already looking past me. "Nothing I can do." "Next." "Please," I said, and I hated the beg in my voice. I leaned closer to the glass. "I have $5 in my bank account. I can't buy them at the pharmacy. I served this country. I took shrapnel in my leg in Da Nang. I just need my medicine." "Sir, step back," he said, louder this time. "You're holding up the line. I'm not leaving without my medication." My voice cracked. I wasn't trying to yell, but the panic was rising, hot and suffocating. Suddenly, a heavy hand clamped on my shoulder. A security guard. "Let's go, Pops. You're causing a disturbance." "I'm not. I'm just trying to live," I stammered as he hauled me backward. Everyone was staring. The other vets, the families. I saw pity in their eyes. I didn't want pity. I wanted respect. The guard shoved me through the automatic doors into the freezing Cleveland rain. "Don't come back until you learn to behave," he spat. I stood there, shivering, the cold water soaking through my thin jacket, realizing I was going to die because of a paperwork error. The bus ride home was a blur of gray streets and dirty snow. I sat near the back, clutching my empty canvas bag against my chest. My hands were shaking, not just from the cold, but from the adrenaline crash. I kept replaying the moment in the waiting room, the way the security guard had looked at me, like I was trash, like I was a stray dog that had wandered into a fancy restaurant. I had medals in a shoebox under my bed. I had a Purple Heart. But out here, in the wet cold of a Tuesday afternoon, I was just an angry old man with no money and a failing heart. When I got off at my stop, the wind cut right through my flannel shirt. My house was 3 blocks away. It used to be a nice neighborhood, filled with steelworkers and families. Now, half the windows were boarded up, and the streetlights flickered like dying candles. I unlocked the front door and the smell hit me. Musty, old, and cold. I kept the thermostat at 58 degrees. Gas was expensive. "Sarge." I called out. The click-clack of claws on hardwood answered me. My golden retriever, Sarge, limped into the hallway. He was 12 years old, his muzzle gray, his hips bad. Just like me. He nudged my hand with his wet nose, his tail giving a slow, rhythmic thump against the wall. He was the only thing in this world that looked at me with love. "I know, buddy." "I know," I whispered, kneeling down to rub his ears. It took me a moment to get back up. I walked into the kitchen. The linoleum was peeling in the corners. I opened the fridge. A half-empty carton of milk, a jar of pickles, and a loaf of bread that was starting to turn green on the heel. I reached for the cupboard. I had 1 can of soup left. Tomato. But then I looked at Sarge's bowl. It was empty. I sighed, the breath rattling in my lungs. All right, Sarge. Dinner time. I opened the cupboard below the sink. The bag of dog food was light. Maybe 2 cups left. I poured it all into his bowl. He ate it eagerly, the crunching sound filling the silent kitchen. I heated up water on the stove and drank it plain. It tricked my stomach into thinking it was full. I sat at the kitchen table, counting the coins from my pocket. 3 quarters, 2 dimes and 4 pennies. 99 cents. My phone rang. It was a landline. I didn't have a cell. I picked it up, my heart leaping. Maybe it was the VA calling to say they made a mistake. Hello. Ray. It's Gary. My stepson. My late wife's boy. Gary. Hi. Is everything okay? Yeah, look, I need a favor, he said, fast and clipped. No, how are you? No, how's the heart? I'm in a jam with the car payment. I need $300. Can you transfer it? I closed my eyes. Gary. I just got turned away from the VA. I don't have my heart pills. I have 99 cents. Silence. Then a huff of annoyance. You always have an excuse, Ray. Always. Whatever. Forget it. He hung up. The dial tone buzzed in my ear, louder than the silence of the house. I slept in my recliner that night. It was easier to breathe when I was sitting up. If I laid flat, the fluid in my lungs felt like it was drowning me. Sarge slept at my feet, his heavy warmth the only thing keeping the frostbite from my toes. The house groaned in the wind, the timber settling like old bones. I dreamt of Vietnam. Not the shooting but the rain. The relentless, hot rain that rotted your boots and your skin. I woke up gasping, clutching my chest. It was morning, but the sky was the color of a bruised plum. I needed money. If the VA wouldn't give me the pills, I had to buy them. The generic version was $40 at Walmart. It might as well have been $1 million. I walked into the living room and looked at the mantel. Pictures of my wife, Martha, smiled back at me. She died 5 years ago. Cancer. It took the savings, the retirement fund, everything. But she never complained. She just held my hand and told me to look after Gary. I tried, Martha, I thought. I tried. I went to the bedroom and pulled the shoebox from under the bed. The cardboard was soft with age. I opened it. My medals were there, pinned to a piece of black velvet. The Purple Heart. The Bronze Star. I touched the cool medal. I remembered the day the general pinned the Bronze Star on me. He shook my hand and said, "Son, your country owes you a debt." I laughed, a dry, hacking sound. The debt was overdue. I took the Bronze Star out of the box. I wrapped it in a handkerchief. Then I took the silver pocket watch my father gave me when I graduated high school. It didn't run anymore, but the silver was real. I put on my coat and leashed Sarge. Come on, boy. We're going for a walk. The pawn shop was on 5th Street, next to a liquor store that had bars on the windows. The bell jingled when I walked in. The smell of stale cigarettes and desperation was thick in the air. The man behind the counter was heavy-set, with grease under his fingernails. He looked at the watch. $5. Scrap value. It's an antique, I said softly. $5. Take it or leave it. I took the $5 bill. Then I unwrapped the handkerchief. The Bronze Star caught the light. The man raised an eyebrow. Yours? Yes. I can't sell this legally. Stolen valor laws and all that. He paused, looking at my frayed cuffs, my tired eyes. But I got a collector who doesn't ask questions. $20. It's worth more than that, I whispered. I bled for that. $20, he said, turning away. I'm running a business, not a charity. I looked at Sarge. He was panting, his tail low. He was hungry again. "Okay," I said. "Okay." I walked out with $25. I felt lighter, but not in a good way. I felt like I had just sold a piece of my soul. I went straight to the pharmacy. $25 wouldn't cover the heart pills, but it would buy a small bottle of aspirin and a bag of dog food. I prioritized the dog food. Sarge didn't understand why the cupboards were bare. I did. It was my job to protect him. The cashier at Walmart was a young girl with bright blue braids. She scanned the aspirin and the kibbles and bits. "That'll be $22.50, she said. I handed her the cash. My hand shook as I counted out the bills. I had $2.50 left. "Thank you for your service," she said robotically, noticing the Vietnam vet hat I always wore. It was faded, the threads coming loose on the logo. "Thanks," I mumbled, grabbing the bag. The words felt hollow. "Thank you for your service." It was something people said to make themselves feel better, not me. When I got home, there was a letter taped to my front door. It was bright orange. Evisit and notice. My heart hammered against my ribs, a painful, irregular rhythm. I ripped it off the door. Failure to pay property taxes. Amount due: $1,200. You have 30 days to vacate. I leaned against the doorframe, the world spinning. I owned this house. Or I thought I did. I had paid off the mortgage 10 years ago. But the taxes. I had fallen behind when Martha got sick. I thought I had caught up. I had given Gary the money to pay them last year. Gary. A cold knot formed in my stomach. I went inside and dialed his number. He picked up on the third ring. "Yeah. Gary, there's a notice on my door. About taxes. I gave you that check last November. $2,000. From the insurance settlement." There was a long pause. I could hear a TV in the background, a football game. "Gary. Look, Ray, things got tight, okay? I meant to pay it back. I invested it. It didn't work out." "You spent my tax money?" I whispered. "They're going to take the house." "They won't take the house," he said, his voice rising, defensive. "Just call them. Work out a payment plan. You're a vet, cry a little. They'll let you off." "I can't work out a payment plan. I have no income until the VA fixes the glitch." "Gary, you have to fix this. You have to give it back." "I don't have it," he shouted. "Stop guilting me. Mom would have wanted you to help me." "Mom would be ashamed of you," I said, my voice trembling with a rage I hadn't felt in years. "Don't you bring her into this," he snapped. "You know what? Deal with it yourself. I'm done." The line went dead. I sank onto the floor in the hallway, the orange paper crinkling in my hand. Sarge came over and licked the tears from my cheek. I hadn't realized I was crying. The next 3 days were a blur of hunger and dizziness. I rationed the aspirin, taking half a pill a day to thin my blood, hoping it would stop my heart from exploding. I cut the dog food with rice I found in the back of the pantry so it would last longer. I tried to call the county tax office. The woman on the phone was polite but firm. "The deadline was yesterday, Mr. Carter. The lien has been sold. Unless you can pay the full amount plus interest by the end of the month, the foreclosure proceeds." I hung up. I sat in my armchair, staring at the dust motes dancing in the sunlight. I was 79 years old. I had survived the jungle, malaria, and enemy fire. I had worked 40 years turning wrenches until my fingers locked up in the cold. And it was ending like this. Starving in a cold house that didn't belong to me anymore. Then a knock at the door. Hope, cruel and bright, flared in my chest. Maybe Gary had found a conscience. Maybe the VA had sent a courier. I pulled myself up and opened the door. It wasn't Gary. It was a woman in a suit, holding a clipboard. Behind her stood a man in a windbreaker that said Adult Protective Services. "Raymond Carter?" the woman asked. She looked at me with a mixture of professional concern and clinical detachment. "Yes. I'm Sarah Jenkins from the Department of Aging. We received a report concerning your welfare." "My welfare?" I frowned, gripping the door handle. I'm fine. The report states that you are living without heat, without food, and are suffering from untreated dementia, she said, reading from her clipboard. It says you are a danger to yourself. Dementia. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. My mind is sharper than yours, miss. Who made this report? She hesitated. It was an anonymous family member. They are concerned you aren't managing your finances. They mentioned unpaid taxes and giving away large sums of money. Gary. My blood ran cold. He wasn't just stealing from me. He was trying to bury me. That's a lie, I said. My stepson stole my tax money. I'm not crazy. I'm broke. Mr. Carter, may we come in? The man asked, stepping forward. We just need to check the fridge and the thermostat. No, I said, trying to close the door. You don't have a warrant. Sir, if you refuse, we can call the police to do a wellness check, the woman said softly. Please. We just want to help. I looked at them. I looked at the street. My neighbors were watching from their windows. The humiliation burned my face hot. Fine, I whispered. Come in. See how a hero lives. They walked through my house, taking notes. They opened the empty fridge. They checked the thermostat, which was set to 55 now to save every penny. They looked at the pile of unpaid bills on the counter. Mr. Carter, Sarah said, her voice dripping with that condescending sympathy. This isn't sustainable. You have no food. The house is freezing. I'm waiting on my pension, I said, my back straight. It's a clerical error. We can help you speed that up, she said. But in the meantime, we can't leave you here like this. Your stepson, Gary, has offered to take temporary guardianship. Guardianship. The room spun. He's the one who put me here. He stole my money. The man from APS sighed. Sir, paranoia is a common symptom of decline. Gary seems very concerned. He wants to help you manage your assets so you don't lose the house. He wants to sell the house. I shouted. I grabbed my chest. The pain was sharp, like a knife twisting between my ribs. He wants to put me in a home and sell this place. Sir, calm down, the man said, reaching for his radio. I stumbled back, tripping over Sarge. I hit the floor hard. My hips screamed in agony. Sarge barked, standing over me, growling at the strangers. Control, we need a medical unit, the man said into his radio. Elderly male, fall victim, possible cardiac event. Aggressive dog on scene. No, I wheezed. Don't take me. Don't take the dog. My vision blurred. I saw boots around me. I felt hands checking my pulse. Get the dog out of here, someone said. I heard a yelp. Sarge. Sarge. I tried to scream, but it came out as a whisper. It's okay, Ray, a voice said. I looked up. Gary was standing in the doorway. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the walls, assessing the property value. He was smiling. We'll get you taken care of, Gary said. I'll handle everything. Darkness swarmed the edges of my vision. The last thing I heard was the sound of Sarge whining as they dragged him out the door, and Gary asking the social worker, So, how long does the power of attorney paperwork take? Then, everything went black. I woke up to the beep 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 of machines. The smell of antiseptic was overwhelming. I was in a hospital bed, and 4-line taped to the back of my hand. I tried to sit up, but I was strapped down. Restraints. Soft, padded cuffs around my wrists. Nurse. I croaked. A nurse bustled in. She looked kind but tired. Mr. Carter, you're awake. You need to stay calm. You had a minor heart attack. Your pressure is still very high. Why am I tied up? You were thrashing when you came in. It's for your safety. She checked my chart. Your son is here. He's been waiting to see you. He's not my son, I spat. Gary walked in as the nurse left. He was wearing a suit I had bought him for his wedding 10 years ago. He looked successful. He looked like a liar. Hey, Ray, he said, pulling up a chair. He didn't sit close. You gave us a scare. "Where's Sarge?" I asked. "The dog. I sent him to the pound, Ray. You can't take care of him. Look at you. You can't even take care of yourself." "The pound." My heart monitor started beeping faster. "They'll kill him. He's old. No one adopts old dogs." "It's for the best," Gary said, waving his hand as if swatting away a fly. "Look, we need to talk business. The doctors say you have cognitive impairment. The judge agreed to an emergency temporary guardianship. I'm in charge now." He placed a folder on the bed tray. "I'm selling the house to a developer. They're tearing it down for condos. The money will pay for a nice nursing home. I found one upstate. It's affordable." "Affordable," I repeated. "Meaning cheap. Meaning a warehouse for dying people." "It's better than starving in the dark," he said cold, his mask slipping. "Sign the papers, Ray. Make it easy. Or I'll have the court declare you fully incompetent and I'll do it anyway." I looked at his face. I saw the greed. I saw the boy I taught to ride a bike, the boy I held when he scraped his knee, completely gone. Replaced by this monster. "Untie me," I said softly. "What?" "Untie one hand. I can't sign if I'm tied up." Gary smiled. Victory. He undid the restraint on my right hand. He handed me a pen. I held the pen, my hand trembling. I looked at the paper. Transfer of deed. Power of attorney. I looked at Gary. "You think you've won." "I have won, old man. Just sign." I didn't sign. I dropped the pen. "I need to use the bathroom," I said. Gary rolled his eyes. "Fine. I'll get the nurse." "No. Help me up." "You want the house?" "Help me to the bathroom. Show me you have 1 ounce of humanity left." He groaned, but he helped me stand. I was weak, my legs like jelly. I leaned heavily on him. I could smell his expensive cologne. It made me sick. As we shuffled toward the bathroom, I saw my hospital gown pocket. My wallet was gone. My keys were gone. "Where are my things?" "I have them," Gary said. "Safekeeping." We got to the bathroom door. I went in and locked it. "Hurry up." Gary yelled through the door. "I have a meeting at 2. I turned on the sink faucet full blast to cover the sound. I wasn't using the bathroom. I was looking for a way out. But we were on the 4th floor. The window didn't open. I looked in the mirror. I looked gray. Dead. But my eyes were still the eyes of a Marine. I saw a red pull cord near the shower. Emergency. I didn't pull it. I sat on the toilet lid and thought. I had to think. Gary had the legal high ground. He had the doctors convinced. He had the system on his side. But he didn't know about Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson was my lawyer from 40 years ago. He was retired now, living in a nursing home himself. But 3 days before the APS showed up, when I got that tax notice, I had a feeling. A gut instinct. I had taken a bus to see him. I reached into my sock. I always kept a spare key there. Not a house key. A key to a safety deposit box. I flushed the toilet and washed my hands. I opened the door. Gary was checking his watch. "Done." "Good. Sign the papers." "I'll sign," I said. "But not here. I want to do it at the house. One last look. Foreclosure." Gary narrowed his eyes. "Why?" "Please, Gary. Let me say goodbye to the house Mom and I built. Then I'll sign everything. The house, the pension, everything." He calculated. He knew if he forced me here, I might fight him in court later. If I went willingly, it was cleaner. "Fine," he said. "I'll drive you. 1 hour. Then we go to the nursing home." The drive was silent. Gary drove his BMW fast, weaving through traffic. I looked out the window at the city I had defended, the city that had forgotten me. We pulled up to the house. It looked sad. The grass was overgrown. The for sale sign was already in the yard. Gary had wasted no time. "Let's go," he said, unlocking the front door. The house was freezing. It smelled like dog. My heart broke again for Sarge. "Hurry up," Gary said, staying by the door, not wanting to get his suit dirty. I walked into the kitchen. I went to the loose floorboard under the pantry. "What are you doing?" Gary asked, stepping into the room. "Getting my pen," I said. I didn't pull out a pen. I pulled out a thick envelope. It was stamped and dated 3 days ago. "What is that?" Gary asked, stepping closer. "This," I said, my voice gaining strength, "is the reason you lose." "Give it to me," he lunged. I stepped back, holding it up. "You can't take it. It's a copy. The original is filed at the courthouse." "What are you talking about?" He laughed, nervously. "You're senile. You don't have any money to file papers." "I sold my medals, Gary," I said quietly. "I sold the Bronze Star. And the Purple Heart." His face went slack. "You what?" "I got $200 for the set. It was enough to pay the filing fee." "Filing fee for what?" he screamed. "Open it." I tossed the envelope on the table. Gary ripped it open. He scanned the document. His face went pale, then red, then purple. You crazy old bat. You can't do this." "I did it. I was of sound mind when I signed it. 3 witnesses. Notarized." "No." He swept the papers onto the floor. "This house is mine. It's my inheritance." "It was never yours," I said, leaning against the counter, feeling stronger than I had in years. "It was Martha's, and she wanted it to go to someone who needed it." Gary was shaking, holding the piece of paper that ruined his life. It was a quitclaim deed. "You transferred the house to a charity," he whispered, his voice choking. "The Veterans Housing Coalition." "For $1, I said. "Sold. It's their property now. As of yesterday morning. They're going to turn it into a shelter for homeless vets. Men who actually served." "You have nothing," Gary screamed. "You're homeless. You have no money. I was going to put you in a home." "I have a bed," I said calmly. "Part of the deal. I get to live here as the on-site caretaker until I die. Rent-free. Utilities paid by the charity." "And the pension," he gasped. "The back pay." "I signed a power of attorney too," I said. "To the Legal Aid Society. They're handling my VA claim now. They called me at the hospital. The money hit my account this morning. $20,000 in back pay." Gary fell into a chair. He put his head in his hands. "I needed that money, Ray. I owe people. Bad people." "That sounds like a you problem," I said. I walked over to the landline phone. It was still working. "Who are you calling?" Gary asked weakly. "The police," I said. "You're trespassing on private property owned by a non-profit organization. And then I'm calling the pound. I'm going to get my dog back." Gary looked at me, tears streaming down his face. "Ray, please. I'm family." I looked at him. I saw the greed, the weakness. "No," I said, dialing 911. "My family is a dog named Sarge and the men who bled with me in the mud. You're just a stranger who broke into my house." I turned my back on him as the operator answered. 911, what is your emergency?" "I have an intruder," I said, my voice steady and proud. "And I'm a Marine. Send help before I handle it myself." 1 week later. I sat on the porch. The heat was on inside. The fridge was full. Sarge was sleeping at my feet, chewing on a real bone. He was skinny but safe. A van pulled up. Veterans Housing Coalition. 3 young men hopped out, carrying toolboxes and lumber. They were here to fix the roof. One of them, a kid with a prosthetic leg, walked up the path. He saw my hat. He stopped and saluted. "Morning, sir. Ready to get to work." I saluted back. For the first time in a long time, my hand didn't shake. "Carry on, Marine," I said. I wasn't lonely anymore. And I certainly wasn't useless. End of story. Like this story? Don't forget to subscribe and comment justice if you're glad Gary got what he deserved.